Today, we will explore one of the most dramatic and exciting events in history, the trial of Jesus Christ. Through the lens of Jewish laws and customs of the time, we will understand how this trial diverged from established justice standards. We will analyze how Jesus was interrogated and the unfair manner in which he was treated during the trial. In the 1st century, in ancient Jerusalem, a scene of conflict exploded, causing a great uproar among the religious masters and Jesus Christ, the Son of God. In this historical context, Jewish traditions, deeply rooted in the Talmud and the Mishnah, collided against the influence of the powerful Roman Empire and the good news preached by Jesus of Nazareth. But have you heard of the Talmud and the Mishnah? These words may sound unfamiliar, but they played crucial roles in this context. The Talmud and the Mishnah are sacred texts of Judaism that contain laws, teachings, and traditions passed down through generations. Stay with me in this video as we together explore these texts that played a fundamental role in Jewish and Christian beliefs. The shadows of the night in the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus, the Son of God, was, marked a crucial moment in his life. He was in deep prayer, aware of the persecution to come because of the gospel of love and the kingdom he taught to the people, a gospel that the leaders and false religious pastors of the time hated with all their might. Did you know that, at the time, Jewish laws prohibited nighttime arrests? Contradicting these norms, Roman soldiers and Jewish religious leaders invaded the Garden of Gethsemane at night to arrest Jesus. This act, by itself, already points to the injustice that permeated Jesus' trial. Jesus' arrest during the night not only violated Jewish norms, but also reflected the haste of the religious leaders, rabbis, pastors, including all those who had power and wealth. The religious leaders of the time wanted at all costs to silence a man who posed no threat to politics or law. This action highlights not just the injustice, but also the greed and the pursuit of political and religious control that were at stake at that crucial moment in history. Jesus was a charismatic figure, and each day, he was more loved and welcomed by sinners, and those thirsty for the living waters he offered freely to all who were thirsty for truth. Each day, Jesus was more loved by sinners who sought to follow his teachings of loving one's neighbor without distinction of race or religion. However, each day, Jesus, the Son of God, also faced more hatred and death threats from the false pastors and false law teachers of the time. Despite this, each day, Jesus gained new followers and people who truly could understand that he was God incarnate. Moreover, the subsequent trial of Jesus was marked by legal irregularities and false witnesses. He was accused of blasphemy and sedition, crimes that led to his condemnation to death on the cross. However, many argue that these accusations were unfounded and that the radicalism of the law teachers and pastors of the time contributed to the injustice committed against him. One of the most controversial chapters in history, situated in the streets of Jerusalem, a nocturnal interrogation before the high priest marked a turning point. The Jewish law of the time prescribed that trials, especially in capital cases, should occur during the day in the light of the sun, ensuring transparency and justice. Here I ask you, my friend, examiner of the scriptures, was there transparency in Jesus' trial? However, Jesus of Nazareth, the man who uniquely taught love for one's neighbor and justice, was subjected to a nocturnal interrogation, violating these fundamental principles. See, friends, the false pastors and rabbis of that time claimed to be the protectors of the Talmud and the Mishnah, the guardians of the law. However, to silence or eliminate anyone who opposed their dominion, they were capable of violating these same laws without hesitation, demonstrating their willingness to make any decision, whatever it was, to perpetuate their reign of injustice. This act itself raises questions about the justice of the trial against Jesus. The nocturnal interrogation suggests an unusual haste, an urgency to condemn Jesus, the Son of God, the firstborn, the promised Messiah. Before the high priest, Jesus remained calm and faithful to his convictions. He defended his mission and teachings even under intense pressure from pastors, leaders, ultra-religious rabbis. The outcome of this interrogation was a milestone in history, leading to the trial and crucifixion of Jesus. These events have been the subject of analysis and debate over the centuries. The nocturnal interrogation of Jesus is seen by many as an example of how political and religious power can be used to silence voices that may shake the structures of injustice and evil. In Jesus' time, the legal system differed significantly from modern judicial systems. There were no defense attorneys, as we understand today. Instead, judges were responsible for ensuring impartiality and protecting the rights of the accused. However, in Jesus' trial, this safeguard failed dramatically. He found himself alone before his accusers, with no one to represent him or legally defend him. This lack of advocacy makes the injustice that marked this crucial moment in history even more shocking. The story of Jesus highlights how the legal system of the time was subject to abuses and how political and religious circumstances can profoundly influence the judicial process. I ask you, my friend, listener, see how many injustices and irregularities were committed against Jesus in his interrogation. How many failures within the Jewish law can we witness here? I see the religious leaders of the time and the false pastors who claimed they were protectors and observers of the law, committing various crimes against the law itself. I would like to make an analogy here. I notice that in the 21st century, few men truly committed to the gospel of love and mercy face persecutions and trials, suffering slanders and defamation, just as Jesus suffered. What impresses me most is that often those who defame these few preachers of Christ are leaders and false pastors who claim to protect the words of Jesus Christ. I question, is this the reality we observe in the world, or is it just my impression? The few committed have always been the target of slander by men greedy for money. And the saddest thing is that the people, often uninformed, tend to unite with leaders and false pastors who daily enrich themselves with tithes and offerings, following the same pattern as the false pastors of Jesus' time, who also accumulated amounts of wealth. During the trial, several questions were posed to Jesus by different authorities, and the event included moments of aggression and mockery. Here is a summary of what occurred based on biblical accounts. Before the high priest Caiaphas, Jesus was questioned about his messianity and his doctrine. Caiaphas directly asked Jesus if he was the Christ, the Son of God. Then Caiaphas, in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 26, verses 63 and 64, directly asked Jesus if he was the Christ, the Son of God, and Jesus responded, "You have said so. Moreover, I tell you, soon you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of the Almighty and coming on the clouds of heaven." When Jesus made his affirmations before Caiaphas, the reaction of the high priest was of intense fury. He tore his clothes, a symbolic act, and accused Jesus of blaspheming against God. Caiaphas exclaimed, "Why do we need any more witnesses? You have just heard the blasphemy." This reaction demonstrates the severity with which Caiaphas interpreted Jesus' words. However, it is important to note that, at that moment, the law teachers were paradoxically violating their own laws and traditions. First, the trial took place at night, which was prohibited by Jewish law. Second, the law required the presence of reliable witnesses, and their statements had to be consistent to condemn someone for blasphemy. But the witnesses presented against Jesus gave conflicting testimonies. It is of utmost importance to remember that the witnesses were paid by the false pastors to bear false witness against Jesus. At this crucial moment in history, those who proclaimed themselves protectors of the law were, paradoxically, violating the sacred commandments given by God to Moses on Mount Sinai. The false pastor Caiaphas, in his eagerness to condemn Jesus, resorted to subverting the truth, bribing witnesses to testify falsely against him. This act blatantly transgressed the commandment of Exodus 20:16, which orders, "You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor." Inflamed by the supposed affront, Caiaphas dismissed the need for more witnesses. "Why do we need any more witnesses?" he exclaimed. "You have just heard the blasphemy." With this accusation, the path to the violation of the sixth commandment, "You shall not murder," Exodus 20:13, was being traced. They were preparing to hand Jesus over to Pontius Pilate, sealing his fate with scourging and crucifixion. At this dramatic moment, Jesus' fate tragically intertwined with the commandments he came to fulfill and teach. The accusation of blasphemy and the subsequent referral for death revealed a bitter irony. The religious leaders, in the name of the law, were breaking its most fundamental principles. It was an episode of tragic hypocrisy and profound injustice, marking one of the darkest yet most transformative chapters in human history. My brothers, as we reach this point, I would like to propose a reflection and invite all of you to participate. In each one's opinion, if Jesus returned to our days, maintaining the same simplicity with which he came in the past, would he face challenges with contemporary religious leaders? Would he have conflicts with today's false pastors? I am curious to know your perspectives and interpretations on this topic. Please share your views in the comments. Let's together explore this intriguing question. Today we explored the various injustices that Jesus faced during his trial, the irregularities and manipulations of the Orthodox Jewish legal system of the time, which culminated in the decision to condemn Jesus to death. In the next video, we will deepen our analysis of Jesus' story, focusing on his crucifixion and the transcendental meaning it has for humanity. For everyone who followed up to here, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. In the comments, I will leave the link to the video about the betrayal of Judas Iscariot, including perspectives from the apocryphal books on this crucial event. Thank you again for your presence and participation. See you in the next video, where we will continue to explore the crucifixion of Jesus and its transcendental meaning for humanity. Shalom, and see you soon.